October 24th, 2012, an article from the Denver Post is published. The title of that article? The center position is extinct in today's NBA. This article would be written just 2 years prior to the Denver Nuggets drafting their greatest player in franchise history and a man who has been a catalyst in the revival and evolution of the big man position in the NBA. As cited in that article, and many other articles around the same time, it was only a few years ago that people were claiming the center position that we once knew and loved was dying. The age of players like Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that could dominate games from inside the paint with touch, skill, and power was being lost to the new era of shooting big men that just did not possess those same qualities.
Just because Dirk is 7 feet tall and he's a great shooter, just because Kevin Durant is 7 foot and he's a great shooter, that don't mean all you other 7 foot dummies should be out there shooting jumpers.
But it was more than just the shifting in skill set. It was just the straight up decline in quality of a lot of big men that had people seriously concerned about the future of the position. From 2010 to 2020, only twice did a center finish in the top 5 of MVP voting, with Dwight Howard runner-up in 2010 and Joakim Noah 4th in 2014. The center position had shifted from the centerpiece of a lot of offenses to a mere obstacle in the way of offenses that were led by high volume and high skill guards. To truly put this all into perspective, it was just about 2 years ago to this day that ESPN released a 9-part miniseries detailing past and present players' thoughts on the decline of the big man.
So what can today's big man do to survive? Hard question, I think.
It's a hard question. Post touches or post scoring is pretty much it's becoming a lost art in the NBA.
This series even included an interview from the face of the center position at the time, Joel Embiid. Yes, they asked the face of the position to give his thoughts on the decline of his position. And this was the top comment from that video. ESPN should do one of these with Steven Adams. He's got the most classic big man game left in the league, gets boards, sets brutal screens, and has a plethora of post moves. No, that was not satire. Apart from the clear ignorance towards Nikola Jokic and the likes of Karl Anthony Towns that were fantastic at that point in time, this was the state of the center position just 2 years ago. Fast forward exactly 2 years from the day this video was posted, and this happened. But this is much more than just a few dominant performances from a couple of dominant players. This is now 2 years in a row that you could make a very strong case the two best regular season players have both been centers. The two most unstoppable players in the NBA are 7-foot bigs that, although differ stylistically, hold the same core values that made bigs so dominant for so long, whilst incorporating new levels of skill that we just have not seen from guys their size ever. And when I say ever, I really mean it.
Amongst the league leaders in terms of the overall percentage of their points coming at the foul line as Embiid hits at the free throw line.
Trying to drive in. There's Jokic, that man again. Jokic with the block shot, his second tonight. Oh! What a pass by Jokic!
Yes, right now we are witnessing two of the greatest centers of all time, right in their prime. And with that in mind, I wanted to take a look at what makes these two guys so special and what this means for the future of the center position. Because there is no doubt, Jokic and Embiid are influencing the NBA not just now, but for decades to come. When you look at the skill set of both these guys, a lot of what they have to do is made possible by the shooting and touch they have from all three levels. In the past, you had bigs that could shoot from the mid-range or have a feathery soft touch from 5 to 10 feet, but you didn't have 7-foot monsters like Jokic and Embiid putting up these kind of numbers from all three levels. It just did not happen. And what's interesting is they both do it in different ways. Nikola Jokic is one of the greatest off-ball bigs of all time. He can dart to the right spots on the floor before rising up and dropping in soft jumpers at will, or he can set screens and slip out of them, finding pockets of space. He is a master of finding angles and manipulating them as a scorer. And while Joel Embiid is capable of doing similar things, he also really loves to utilize the pull-up jumper. At times, he looks like a supersized Kevin Durant. Yes, a supersized Kevin Durant, and I don't think that's an exaggeration anymore, with his ability to hit defenders with dribble combinations before dropping in mid-range shots at will. Not to mention, these are without question the two best post players in the league. Both incredibly strong and powerful and able to back down smaller defenders, but also with elite footwork and touch, with Jokic having some of the best hook shots and floaters you will ever see. But just to put this all into perspective, just to understand the numbers of Joel Embiid and how they stack up, these are their numbers from all three levels versus the numbers of the greatest shooting big man of all time in his MVP season, Dirk Nowitzki. And as you can see, obviously Dirk was one of the greatest mid-range shooters ever, but from beyond the arc and from 5 to 20 feet, you can see the touch these guys possess in comparison to Dirk, whilst putting up numbers comparable to some of the greatest bigs of all time at the rim. And with these skill sets, these two guys have established themselves as two of the 5 best scorers in the NBA, potentially the 2 best in the league, but undoubtedly both in the top 5. And the last time we saw that from 2 centers, unequivocally, was about 25 years ago. Yes, 25 years ago, to go back and find where 2 centers were clearly top 5 scorers in the league, and that was Shaquille O'Neal and an older Hakeem Olajuwon. And as you can see by the numbers, Embiid and Jokic well and truly stack up and are very favorable against 2 of the greatest big men we have ever seen. But what is so special about this is it's much more than just scoring. These are 2 guys leading high-powered offenses without being dependent on guard play. When Jokic is on the floor, Denver have the best offense in basketball. When he's off the floor, they are ranked 28th. With Embiid on the floor, Philly also have the highest rated offense in basketball, and with him off the floor, they are 23rd. Now, Embiid is by no means as good a passer as Jokic. I believe no one in the league is right now, regardless of position. But not only is he an incredibly prolific scorer, he requires attention constantly, and Philadelphia creates open three-point shots at will through the double teams and attention teams pay Embiid. Not to mention, he has also improved drastically as a passer, and I'm sure he's taken notes from the best to ever do it in Nikola Jokic. And when I say the best to ever do it, teams have quite literally no answer for Jokic, and that's because of what he does as a playmaker and scorer. It has been years now, and we still are no clearer on whether you want to double team him or single team him. You probably want to single team him, but then you're leaving someone on an island against statistically one of the best isolation scorers in the league that can score from all 3 levels, off the dribble or off the bounce. It does not matter. So there is no clear answer to guarding either of these guys, and that's why they are leading top offenses, particularly when they are on the floor, which is something that we just haven't seen to this degree in a very, very long time. These 2 guys have found a way to utilize the old school, back to the basket moves we saw from all the great bigs of the past with power, finesse, and footwork, whilst also incorporating elements from shooting bigs and even guards. When you look at some of the scoring moves that Joel Embiid has in his arsenal, they are similar to some of the best guards you will see with his movement and his ability to rise up over defenders. Not to mention, these 2 guys are both good defenders. Yes, Nikola Jokic is a good defender, and the Nuggets' very strong defensive rating with him on the floor, combined with his incredibly active hands and positional awareness, make him a much improved defender and a clear positive. Joel Embiid, on the other hand, well, he can win you games with his defense, and at times he can look like the best player on the floor just based off his defensive ability. That's what you get from these two guys on both ends of the floor. Right now, we are seeing two of the greatest big men of all time in the prime of their careers playing unbelievable basketball and showing that the big man position is well and truly back and they can lead teams to wins and high-powered offenses, which is going to have a profound effect on the future of the center position going forward, looking at what Jokic and Embiid have been able to do. Maybe these guys are outliers, but it's going to lead to a lot of teams trying to emulate the success Philadelphia and Denver have had because of these two guys, and this is something that just was not forecasted 2 years ago, let alone 5 to 7 years ago when an article from Denver was being published about the death of the center position. If you made it to the end of the video, you must have enjoyed it a bit. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, that would be much appreciated. Have a good day.